We are about to get started. It's Friday. It's that time of the week where Kingdom Speak delivers premium content. Today, we're going to talk to you about forgiveness. Welcome to Kingdom Speak with Pastor Daniel McKillop. Hello. It's Friday.
How are you?
Yes. I didn't say it. I'm dressed up. I'm ready to go.
Are you choking?
Feels good. Feels good. Dressing the part. YouTube comments have been good the last few weeks. Shout out to our YouTube audience. And the episode, one thing that makes everything worse. This listener said, this episode is going in my top 3 favorite Kingdom Speak episodes. That's a pretty high honor.
Wow.
Along with Brother Trimble's episode, as well as the episode on lasting relationships. It is joining some of your other episodes and a few Biblos episodes on my life-changing podcasts playlist.
Love it.
Thank you for your ministry and enjoyed your message from Peak. How about that?
Well.
And that's from Sarah McCullough on YouTube. So let's say amen to Sarah.
Can I get an amen? Amen. Can I get a hallelujah? Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. So how about that? How about that? Got everything. Got the Biblos checklist there. We got Peak in there. We've got multiple episodes. Let's see. That's a well-rounded listener with a lot of, I can just tell they're a prepared listener.
Holistic
Approach. I like
Yes.
it. I like it.
Yeah, it's
I like
good.
it.
It's good. Well, we're letting it down today. We're not drinking out of our newly minted mugs.
Well, the reason why is because we're sold out. They're just going like hotcakes.
We can't keep them on the shelf.
We can't keep them on the shelf.
Wherever the shelf is.
So
Do we have a shelf?
no, we don't. But there's none on it. So
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have lots on our website though. So get your mug
On the web shelf.
on the web shelf.
Yes.
Yes.
I can do all things.
Through a verse.
Taken out of context.
If we could have redone it, too bad we done it too soon. We could say I can do all things through chapter and verse taken out of context.
Maybe I could. Maybe we could.
Do you think we
have
could
a
tweak that?
Have a tweaked
We
version.
could do anything through a chapter and a verse
taken
taken out of
out of
context.
context.
Yes.
I think this is a good time that we should talk about forgiveness because you seem to like you have a little bit of.
Well, if we could be like the Bereans, study a little bit,
Yeah.
and let's do a deep dive,
A Berean.
a chapter and verse approach
Okay.
to this thing called forgiveness.
Okay.
Does that work?
I don't know. I'm just, in general, I'm sensing the need for forgiveness here. I just pointing that out as we move on here. I'm just feel the need to
Okay.
bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. If you don't, good. Just enjoy your.
Go search a
I don't want to say ignorance because that's kind of nasty, but sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Forgiveness. That is a weighty topic, isn't it?
It is
Yeah.
liberating at times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Misunderstood a lot. Misunderstood a lot.
Can be difficult.
I can't forgive the guy for getting my
Oh,
earpiece all messed up.
You know, let me just take this
You
opportunity
gonna
to
clip
ask
this?
producer Randy for forgiveness. I insulted him last episode,
Well,
referring to a photo taken in front of the Coliseum, and I'm just asking for his forgiveness.
So do you want to give us the backdrop to this? Obviously the Coliseum was the backdrop, but
I
is
was
there
just
context to this picture?
no, there's not. I just was thinking of the most recent time that I have been photographed with an individual that could damage my credibility, and I thought of producer Randy and I's photo.
Yes.
I just
Yes.
I wanted to bring that up. So I'm asking humbly for your forgiveness at this time.
I'm thinking of a completely different photo right now.
There are a few.
Go ahead. I will concede a little more space and time. Go.
We have a track record
no.
of taking photos that
No.
Oh, you don't want
would
to
require all of us
Well,
to
then
ask
what'd you
forgiveness.
bring it up for?
I don't have two clues why you brought it up. Because clearly, I'm not sure who would have to forgive who.
Whose credibility is being
Yeah.
damaged the worst amount. Yeah.
Yeah. I
It's
accept,
a great example.
You know what, though? I accept your apology. It's been a long time. It's been a long time coming. And I appreciate you
finally
apologizing. You finally did it. So,
All right. Well,
And I'm happy to receive such bountiful loads of forgiveness from you. I feel much better already.
well, when I fail you or anything like that, I'll be sure to forgive or be sure to ask for forgiveness. But
we can plan on it. It will happen.
It hasn't happened yet. So, but when it happens,
Oh yeah.
I'll be the first.
I'm
I'll
already
be the first.
I'm
I'll be
already
at the-
preparing.
I'll be at the head of the line.
are you really?
I'm already preparing.
Positioning.
Yes.
Okay,
I
good.
accepted that. Thank you for allowing us to clear that up on the national airwaves.
Yes, folks, this was an international
doesn't
apology.
it? Let's just
It feels better.
just take a second. Like it feels better now. We can go on with the episode.
Just breathe deep.
Yeah.
Let it go. Yeah. Have you guys ever heard tell of the prisoner's dilemma?
I think
Not
that's
really.
a no.
Tell us what it is, and maybe we have heard.
So let me just take a minute and set it up. The concept of forgiveness, ironically, is a uniquely human element. Beast don't forgive. So when you struggle with forgiveness, it is a beastly tendency to not take advantage of the ability to give someone another chance. Okay? So I know when you begin talking about this, people run. Last week we talked about margins, so people can run to the extreme edges of this and go, yeah, but I can forgive for this, but you don't know how bad this hurt. And so let's hasten to the low hanging fruit and go ahead and take it. There are atrocities that happen to people. So to insinuate that forgiveness is easy is not what we're after. Sometimes it can be one of the most difficult things you ever do. Necessary, always. Always. There's misunderstandings that kind of hang out around the concept and the idea of a biblical view of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not letting the other person off.
Right.
It's not letting the offender off. Forgiveness is releasing yourself. Forgiving others sometimes is the greatest gift you can give yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So, well, I can't forgive them because it seems like they will get off. They'll. So you're going to stay on the hook.
Yeah.
Okay.
So true. So true.
So the reason I bring that up is there's a couple examples that I want to use. The prisoner's dilemma is one of them, where it led to the development of computer programs to try to simulate human behaviors, of which one of them was forgiveness. So that is why I underscore that forgiveness is a uniquely human behavior that it's very difficult outside of the human element to control it. Okay, so in 1944, with the invention of a new branch of mathematics, games theory devised by one of the 20th century's most formidable intelligences, John von Neumann. So this guy is born in Hungary. There's just some interesting details. He's the son of a very successful banker. And then he moved to the United States in 1930, where he began playing a lead role in the development of thermo and nuclear weapons, ballistic materials, the whole theory of nuclear deterrence. Okay. And so he talks about one particular memory that he had that stayed with him from his childhood. His dad, who's working in the banking sector and the economic sector, he began talking at the dinner table one night about the problems that surround running a bank and how to do it effectively. So he's talking about calculating risk and predicting from the banking sector. How can you predict who is trustworthy and who is not? Okay, right. What is the best move? Do we lend to this individual? Are they, and how do you manage the risk of lending to this individual? So, the outcropping of that discussion was how do you manage consequences to particular actions? How do you calculate a consequence to an action? I do A, and the consequence is B. How do I calculate? And so in mathematics, those formulas are preset. X equals Y, Y equals, okay, A plus B. Yeah, yes.
Sorry, I lost it there for a second. I'm back.
So if A equals B and B equals C, A equals C, that kind of stuff.
No.
It's very predictable. No. Okay. So the stop.
I forgive you for saying that.
Do you?
I
Okay.
do. See, there's my reaction. How about that?
Man, you were in like a one forgiven mood.
I'm just feeling so good today. It is.
So
Look out for the Bible bombs.
yeah. Are you going to give me some today?
Yeah,
like I am working for these things lately.
Man,
Goodness.
there might be a bit of forgiveness needing to come from the other end of the table.
I see.
I
Yeah,
think-
there's a little bit of sensitivity there.
Yeah, there's
Felt that, eh?
Well, let me talk to myself.
Then you can say anything,
I
right?
can say anything.
Yeah, that's the carte blanche.
So what he determined from this discussion was the outcome of my choices, I'm quoting this, depends on the reactions of others.
Right.
And these cannot always be predicted.
That is true.
Okay? So I only control part of the narrative. So I don't control A, B, and C. I only control parts of the equation, and the part that you play in it really does determine the outcome of, and this is in the discussion of human behavior.
So this was his dad talking about
Correct. The whole
the
wrestling with
repercussions
economics.
to, yeah.
Okay? And so he's bringing this into the discussion of thermonuclear warfare and ballistics. And okay? So if we drop a bomb, what are they going to do? Are they going to respond? And how
What
do you,
happens?
How you
The chain of events.
calculate
Yeah.
the consequences of this. If I say this, what are they going to say back?
Yeah.
Okay? So 6 years later, after he's reflecting on this thought forming encounter that he had, they developed what is known as the prisoner's dilemma scenario. Okay? Trying to get a better grasp on this thing called human behavior. And how does what one thing does, what one person does, and how the other person reacts. How can we predict this? So the dilemma is the following scenario: the police arrested 2 men on suspicion of a serious crime.
Okay.
They lack, however, the evidence to convict either of them.
Okay.
At most, they have enough information to prove them guilty of a lesser offense. So the aim of the police is to get at least one of them to inform on the other. So they put them in separate rooms. They make sure that they have no way to communicate with each other. And they start individual, simultaneous interrogations of both of them. And they offer each of the suspects a deal. If one informs on the other and the other stays silent, the informant will go free and the other will face a jail sentence of 10 years. Okay? So you're sitting in one room and the other guy's sitting in another room, and they're both being told,
Same thing.
if you tell on the other guy and the other guy stays quiet, then you go free and he eats 10 years of prisoner's soup. Okay? The second option is if they both informed on each other, they would each receive 5 years. The third is if they both stay silent, they will be found guilty only of the lesser offense because they didn't have evidence to prove otherwise, and each of them would face 1 year.
Yeah, I see where this is going.
Hence, the prisoner's dilemma. What does he do in this moment? Okay, so the issue is that they don't know what the other guy's going to do. So they played this out over and over and over again with individual respondents, trying to get to the core of what is human behavior. If they both stay quiet, they both walk in a year. But the propensity to reduce or get off scot-free, which is I'm going to run the risk of informing on the other guy, but I don't know what the other guy's doing. The majority of human behavior responses was that they would both inform on each other, and they would both get stuck with 5 years of sentence. If they both would have been quiet, they both would have got one.
Yeah, they both squeal.
But the desire to get off with nothing had them ratting on the other guy, which ultimately made them serve 5 times longer than they would have if they'd have been quiet. So what they deduced from this, okay, is that several people, each pursuing their own self-interest, seldom generate an outcome which is beneficial to all.
That's right.
So if you're driven by your own self-interest,
Yeah.
and everybody does that, which alleviates the sentence for themselves, it ultimately puts that much more on everybody. You can't be driven by self-interest. If you're going to tackle this thing called forgiveness, you can't be out to just get free for what's in it for you. If you're not careful, you up the sentence for everybody because you're out to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? So interestingly enough, out of that study, now we're going to put a little more Bible on this eventually, but out of that study in the late 1970s, so now, 30 or 40 years has passed, they took computers and they created a software and they simulated, and ironically, it was a Canadian that won this competition.
Shout out to Canadians.
Anatole Rappaport. Okay, this was another simulation of behavior, and they called the program Tit for Tat. And the way that the program worked, it was a simplistic approach. That whenever you would make a decision, the opponent had to make a decision in kind, tit for tat. So if you offended, he had to offend back. Okay? So what would happen is if the first decision was to give a compliment, then the person would give a compliment back, and it would inspire the guy again to move first, and he would give a compliment. And it would create a positive feedback loop, if you will. But if there was a negative, if you sat across the table from someone who had a bend to pessimism and negativity, then it would create what they ended up dubbing a retaliation cycle. So you do this, I'm going to do this, and it become hence tit for tat. I am going to treat you in kind with how you have been treating me. Has anybody witnessed that in life?
Never.
Is that not? I mean, I wish that was just a computer program.
Yeah, never.
Oh, man.
The concept of only giving back
What you've received.
is an anti-kingdom, anti-biblical concept.
Yeah.
You don't do unto others as they've done unto you. You want to treat them.
It's not the golden rule.
Right. So a world without forgiveness, and I read a book that was written by Jonathan Sachs, and he's the one that talks a lot about this. So he, as a Jewish man, he was involved with a lot of the response and the formation of ecumenical assembling of ecumenical leaders across Muslims, Christians, Jews, rabbis, all, okay, in response to the September the 11th attack. And so what he noticed is that there is this highlight in the bleak darkness of terrorism, that it brought a unity to people, that regardless of their differences, they were willing to set a lot of differences aside for the greater good. So you had Republicans and Democrats together on the steps of the Congress, and everybody there was a bipartisan support of the executive branch of government because of the severity of the tragedy. So how do you bring healing? And so he talks about how it took him back to reliving things in his past.
Yeah.
Okay, not in his individual past, but their people, that ethnic group of Jews. So the atrocities. So trying to help this generation heal from the outrageous attack, terrorist attack, led him face to face with, some ugly stuff happened in my past. Okay?
Yeah.
And how do I?
What are you going to do about that?
Right. And it was brought by some people that now I'm standing shoulder to shoulder with, trying to bring healing in the fallout of. Okay, so this thing called forgiveness, and that's why this topic can be very convoluted, very weighty, because there becomes an inherent, even generational aspect to this, where stuff that was done to my forefathers, I still have to process it from a forgiveness. We've seen it in Canada with the residential schools, and the abuse that happened. And then here's generations now removed that don't have personal experience, but still are carrying the grief associated with the abuse. Okay? You name me a Jew that doesn't feel a connection to the Holocaust. Okay? So that is where, without getting off too far into that, I think when you read scriptures like 70 times 7 in one day, I mean, there's two ways you can interpret that. That's either forgiving a man for doing the same thing to you 490 times in one day. That's one thing. And I don't know if anybody, even in our audience, would have ever had that happen to them. Or it can be interpreted this way, that every time it comes up in your mind, you have to know, I forgive. Now, I guarantee you there's somebody in our audience that's thought about something 490 times in one day, where it's been on your mind. This person done X, Y, Z to me. So when you get talking about generational offenses that have happened in the context of our discussion right now, ethnic groups, but churches, pastors,
absolutely.
parents,
Yes.
siblings, where you have to keep forgiving and forgiving and forgiving and forgiving and forgiving. And it may even be to the point where you have to forgive someone that's not even alive to accept your request
Yeah.
for forgiveness.
Somebody who's not even going to make an attempt to apologize.
Yeah, like what do you do if the offender's dead?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay? So
You
that
still have to forgive.
you still have to forgive.
You still have to forgive.
You're not trapped in the grave of unforgiveness because they're in the grave and no longer there to accept it.
I think that's a key point, is that you don't wait for an apology to forgive. Although you do forgive if somebody asks an apology, but forgiveness is just something that you do.
Right.
You just do it.
Right. So one of the things that he mentioned in here, he said, retaliation is the instinctual response to correct wrong.
That's right.
I'm going to get equal. I'm going to get even. I'm going to pay you back. He says, he makes an interesting statement about nationalism. Okay? Nationalism is the idea that you are supreme to every other nation. Okay? So having pride in your background and in your country, and that's great. But this is what he said. Nationalism, and he's quoting a man by the name of Isaiah Berlin, is usually the product of a wound inflicted by one nation on the pride or territory of another.
Yep. And out of that wound comes
Absolutely.
closing the borders. And
So then they become a people who have a collective memory of every grievance that's happened to them, every slight that's come against them, and it becomes a narrative that they tell their children, and then their children tell their children, and then
and
right,
we don't want that to happen again. So this is why we're going to do this.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Which leads to the fact that he said nobody. So living in a world without forgiveness, this becomes generationally deep.
Oh man.
It will go into infinity. So he quotes another guy, Ogden Nash, that makes this statement: no man ever forgets where he buried the hatchet. Okay? So this is a pretty bleak outcome. This is where forgiveness has to come in. You have to forgive things that you can't even forget. I know we make the statement, I'll forgive and forget. How do you just forget? Just go ahead, do it right now. I mean, the thing that's coming to your mind as you're driving down the road in the car,
Stop thinking about
that atrocity, just wipe it out. Just no.
I'm currently thinking right now of an offense we won't talk about it, but
we go.
I'm just choosing to forget it right now. There. It's gone.
So what is it that breaks that chain?
Yeah. Because it's
What is it that keeps my children from bearing up under the load of the grievances that I have and that my parents had and that my grandparents had? And you have got First Nations people going back generations deep. Okay? Yeah. I'm not saying that the atrocity wasn't an atrocity. All I'm telling you is that to bear up under the load, we see it with a discussion of slavery. Okay? And I know we're talking national, but you really need to take this to heart.
Yeah, bring this home.
We're not here to solve the nation's problems. We're here to talk to us about us. Forgiveness is the one thing that you can introduce into a chain of that may be generations deep that breaks it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to carry it. I'm not going to carry it no more. I'm not going to talk to my kids about it. And I'm not talking to their kids about it. I am going to heal and I am going to forgive. Forgiveness introduces into the logic of interpersonal encounter the unpredictability of grace.
Yes, that's so good.
It represents a decision not to do what instinct and passion are urging us to do. It answers hate. I'm quoting these. This is what this rabbi was saying. It answers hate with a refusal to hate. It answers animosity with generosity. There are few more daring ideas that have ever entered into the human situation than this thing called forgiveness.
That's so good.
Forgiveness means we are not destined to endlessly replay the grievances of yesterday. It is the ability to live with the past without being held captive by the past.
Yep.
It is about the action that is not reaction.
Wow. That's really good.
More than hate destroys the hated, it destroys the hater.
Yep.
True.
All right? So at the heart of the concept of forgiveness is the idea of love. That's what's at the base. Not abstract love, but this real concrete attachment of one being for another. This affinity. Okay? Love can distinguish between the person and the deed. So this is all part of this tit for tat dilemma. If I let him off, then what does he do to me? And what benefit do I get? And he done this, so I really should be doing tit for tat. Because, I mean, this is what he did.
You can't just let him do that to you.
Right. And pretty soon you have people acting, and they don't even know what the original offense was.
Yeah, and it's a false pretense that by you reacting, that it will change what was done to you. You know, that doesn't work. It doesn't.
Yes.
That's false. But we gloss over that in our haste to react, right? It doesn't change what somebody did to you.
If you want to get ready to read Psalms 103 and 11,
Let's do it.
the Hebrew word for mercy, which literally defined is the capacity to forgive. It's the ability to forgive, to give mercy. Okay? The Hebrew word for that is rakamim. I'm not a Hebrew scholar, so I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Which comes from the source word there is rakam, meaning a womb. To forgive, to give mercy, is literally giving life to another chance. It is where the conception of a new day begins. That is why his mercies are new
Morning.
every morning. It is the womb of opportunity again. It is the opportunity to trust again, the opportunity to love again, the opportunity to have peace again. It's this opportunity that comes to you. Forgiveness is not just this abstract idea. It's the beginning of a new thing. It is literally the opportunity for something to be born again. So this relationship that has ended and hit a stalemate in this clash, this colossal offense. Forgiveness is the womb to which you put that relationship back in it, and it can slowly be cultivated to grow again. Okay? I want you to read Psalms 103 because this word is in there. Verse 11.
For as the heaven is high above the earth, so great is his mercy toward them.
So great is his mercy toward them that fear him. Okay?
As far as the east is from the west, so far hath he removed our transgressions from us. Like as a father pitieth his children, so the Lord pitieth them that fear him. For he knoweth our frame. he remembereth that we are dust. As for man, his days are as grass, as a flower of the field, so he flourisheth. For the wind passeth over it, and is gone, and the place thereof shall know it no more.
But
But the mercy of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting upon them that fear him, and his righteousness unto children's children.
okay, so I personally have used this passage of Scripture repeatedly at gravesides where you talking about as for man, his days are grass. Okay, as a flower in the field, he flourisheth and it's gone. It's intriguing to me that when you're talking about death, there is an introduction of the womb. So from the tomb to the womb, we're burying one thing, but emerging from that is this opportunity for a new beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Impregnated within forgiveness is a new beginning, a new relationship, a fresh start. Okay? So it's within that. When you start reading about mercy and forgiveness from that standpoint, it changes stories like a blind man screaming at Jesus going by, not for his sight,
Yeah, right.
but have mercy on me. Let me go back to a reset.
Yeah.
If you have mercy on me, that's me back in the womb and everything is reset. And I have another opportunity. I have another opportunity to start all over again. And I have an opportunity. If I get back in the womb, man, my eyes are going to be okay again. I'm going to see again. That changes the discussion. Because to me, if I'm a blind man on the side of the road, I'm not asking for
No, fix my eyes.
Yeah. I'm going to
Fix
pointedly
my eyes.
identify this is what I want and this is what I need.
But what he's really asking for is, he's asking for that by asking for mercy.
Yes. Exactly.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, I want us to look at another example, Genesis chapter number 20.
All right. What verse?
Verse number 1.
All right, let's do it. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country, and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. Oh, here we go. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife,
This has got nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I just wanted to hear you
she is my sister.
stumble.
And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, Behold, thou art but a dead man.
How about a message like that from God?
Yeah.
You dead man.
For the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, She is my sister, and she herself said, He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hands have I done this. And God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thine heart. For I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her.
Okay, just hold your spot right there, because I think this is a point worthy of highlighting. So we understand that Abraham is sitting here and he's seeing that this is not a God-fearing man. This is not, and I'm afraid they'll kill me when they see how good-looking my wife is, and so that leads me to really want, when we get to heaven and see instant replays, I want to see Sarah. That girl at 90 was a looker. Okay,
90.
yay. Okay, so Abraham is telling him, no, she's my half-sister, half-truth. Okay? The king of where? I just want to hear him say it again. Come on. Verse 1, verse 2, it's in there. The king.
So he journeyed between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar.
Gerar. So the king of Gerar
Sounds like a pirate.
Yeah. The king of Gerar notices this is a good-looking woman. Oh, and she's not anybody's wife. So I'll take her.
Yeah,
So he takes her for wife.
exactly.
God wakes him up with a dream. I don't know if he woke him up with a dream, but I guess it's pretty hard to sleep through when God's telling you you're a dead man. They're having this conversation, and he says, now this helped me. He said, man, I innocently got in this. So what I'm fixing to say doesn't have anything to do with you that just premeditatedly went and done something. But innocently, I didn't know this, God. My heart, the integrity of my heart and the innocency of my hands, I didn't know. The man said.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? Notice what God said to him. I know that. And I know that you did it in the integrity of your heart. So what did he say? So
I also withheld thee from sinning against me.
Do you know what that does for me? That lets me know that if I focus on my integrity, God will keep me from sinning.
Wow.
Even in my integrity, I can innocently find myself in a situation that God looks at me and goes, you're a dead man if you do that, but I also kept you from going too far. Okay? That helps me with whether it be a discussion on lust, whether it be a discussion on temptation, whatever the discussion may be, focus on being a man of integrity. That doesn't mean you're perfect, but that's where God, unto him that is able to keep you from falling and to present you blameless. Okay? So be a Joseph. Focus on your integrity. You can't help what they say about you. They may even malign your character and have your coat in their hands, but you keep your integrity and God will keep you from going too far.
All right, I'm going to give it a bomb. That's really good stuff right there.
Whoa!
That's really good.
Man, okay.
Focus on your integrity.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Notice what he does in verse 7.
So
Restore the man
God
his wife.
says, restore the man his wife, for he's a prophet.
Yeah.
And he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. That's
Okay.
good news.
Yes.
And if thou restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die,
Yes.
and all that are thine.
Yes.
Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their ears.
I had a dream last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I am a dead man.
Yep. And
Okay.
the men were sore afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, what hast thou done unto us?
So here's what I want you to see this conflict. The first thing that he says is, what did you do to me? How come you put me in this perilous, precarious position with God?
Right. Brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin.
Okay.
Thou hast done deeds to me that ought not to be done.
Okay. And then he says, and what have I offended thee? So he is fully embracing the fact that Abraham done something to him and then he had offended Abraham. We need to get this clear. I've offended you, and you've put me in a bad spot. We need to forgive each other to move on. All right? So, when he did that, what did he say?
And Abraham responds to him and says, because I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake, and yet indeed she's my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my wife. He's spinning it all out here.
Right.
Yeah. And she became my wife.
So they fix it.
Yep.
They forgive each other.
Yep.
He gives her back. Abraham forgives Abimelech. Abimelech forgives Abraham for setting him up like this, although it wasn't an intentional setup. What did you do this to me for? You allowed me to innocently put myself in a position where I almost crossed a line that was too far to cross. What'd you do that to me for?
Right.
Okay? A great example of what friendships should be all about. Don't let a friend. Don't allow them to innocently cross lines. Okay, you want to be forthright. Okay, because we know that he's a man of integrity. God says, "Yeah, I got it. You're a man of integrity." So when you drop to verse 17, Brother Derek.
So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants, and they bare children.
And they bear children.
For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife.
So because of the grievance and the offense that was there, he shut up the wombs. So again, in comparison and contrast with the fact that forgiveness is that womb, extending mercy is that womb. When they forgave each other, notice what God did. He wasn't only killing Abimelech, he'd shut up any future. Okay? Forgiveness gives you your future back. Without forgiveness, you may have progeny, but you have no future. You'll have people in your downline that are still trapped in the very same bitter, sadistic outlook, jealous.
It's a cycle, right?
It is. He shut it up. Forgiveness gives you access to that. So when Abraham prayed for him and God healed him, he opened up wombs. This is a visual of what is happening in the spirit world when you forgive. I'm going to open up the womb. Now, ironically, it doesn't even stop there. Go to the first verse of the next chapter.
And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said. And the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac.
So here you have,
Just like that.
here you have Sarah's womb also being opened. This is the presence of a promise that had been delayed for a long time. Forgiveness doesn't just open the wombs of one side, but when it's entered by, if we could use a contractual agreement, it opens up the womb.
Wow.
Even to Sarah. It unlocks the future. Okay? One last example that I want to give you is 1 Kings chapter 3 and verse 16. And this is a fascinating story.
Then came there two women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my lord, I and this woman dwell in one house. And I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the third day after I was delivered that this woman was delivered also. And we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we two in the house. And this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son which I did bear. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said,
Can you
No.
imagine trying to unpack that? Like, put yourself in Solomon's shoes at that moment.
The tone just got to be raising at this point, right?
You have a dead child, and you have one live child, and you have two women claiming to be the mother.
That's right.
Yep.
Whee!
Thus they spake before the king.
Like, that's an office call I don't really care to replicate.
Wow.
It's mine. No, it's mine.
Then saith the king, the one saith, This is my son that liveth, and thy son is dead. And the other saith, Nay, but thy son is dead, and my son is living. And the king said, Bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in two, and give half to the one and half to the other. Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, O my lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divide it.
So Solomon determines at that moment who the real mother is. And he determines it by the one who is prepared to give their child away rather than let it be killed.
This is a side note, but don't you love the wisdom of Solomon in such a quick fashion? There's no from how we read this, there is no delay. There is no you guys go and I'm going to think about this for a week and come back.
Yeah.
Like it was like, okay, you guys done talking? Get me the sword.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That's phenomenal.
It is. It is.
That's phenomenal.
So here is the here's the takeaway from that. Love is more than just about what you possess.
Right.
Sometimes love is about what you're willing to let go.
Ooh. Wow.
Are you willing to just let it go? Just let it go. Oh, it hurts. I get it. I get it. But would you rather hang on to it and it be death?
A piece of it.
Right. Or are you willing to just let it go? That love is not just about the things that we possess. Sometimes love is about the things that we let go. So, in closing, in the late 1980s, there was another rendition of this computer program. So it started with the prisoner's dilemma. It went to more of the tit-for-tat moment. And a Polish mathematician by the name of Martin Nowak developed a program that they deemed was way more effective than tit-for-tat when it come to outlining a more authentic overview of human behavior. And the smallest of the modification was this. On average, once every 3 or so moves, so it wasn't predictable, but every 3 or so moves, randomly, it would overlook the move of the previous player. So it would give the computer the right to forget the last move. So if you were sitting across from someone who is that sadistic, hell-bent, negative, nasty, abusive person, then every 3 or 4 moves, it allowed you to forget the last move and you start the cycle. The name of that program is what he called Generous. So it literally was a computer simulated version of what forgiveness really is. You look at that ruthless predator and you look at that abuser and you go, but I'm going to forget that last move and I'm going to take the first move. The ability to overlook or disregard at least some of the hostile moves that have been made against you in life is what forgiveness empowers you to do. It is literally the ability to forget. Not what happened, but to forget in the sense of not letting that last offense that came against you be what compels you to treat them in kind. I'm going to forget that last move, and I'm going to start first. And we see that, I think, in the case of Joseph forgiving his brethren.
Oh, yeah.
Judah is involved with sending him to Egypt. Judah literally is the one that said, no, don't kill him. We won't have blood on our hands. Let's send him down to Egypt. They sell him to Egypt. It's Judah that does it. But when it comes to the other end of the discussion where Joseph knows that it's his brethren, but none of his brethren know it's him, he said, I want you to bring my younger brother back.
Yes.
You know who brings the younger brother back? Judah. Do you know how? Do you know how Judah wins over his daddy to entrust him. He said, it's going to be me for him. I am willing to substitute myself for him. When Joseph saw that in Judah, he knew there is a willingness to substitute himself into this. Judah is the one that orchestrated that encounter where forgiveness could be exacted between brethren, where restoration could take place. I want to tell you, even in this day and age right now, Judah, that determination to be a praiser, can be one of those elements that brokers two sides to come to this thing called forgiveness. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we could talk about right there. But you just go ahead and praise God and watch him present the opportunity for the Benjamins and the Josephs to get together, for the Levi's and the Judahs and the Simeons and the Jacobs to be back together against with Joseph. He can set it up. If you can trust anybody to set it up, you can trust Judah to set it up. So if you're listening to this today, forgiveness is not always easy, but it's always necessary. Liberate yourself from being stuck in the prisoner's dilemma, from being stuck in a world of tit for tat. Step over into the generous side of things. Forget the previous move and be born again.